Hello, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Victoria. I'm a mum of 5 in the UK. Halloween's over and now we're on to November, and I'm trying my best to enjoy this month because this is a month that's forgotten about. People rush ahead to Christmas, and November's really quite a nice month. Even if you take bonfire night out, it's a time for stews and homemade bread and having walks in the autumn leaves and all that. So I'm really trying to enjoy that and not rush ahead to Christmas, even though everywhere's telling me to. We are a low income family, lower now than we used to be, although we've always been a low income. And I've noticed the low income homemaking videos are quite popular at the minute, and I think that's because so many people are feeling the pinch just now, aren't they? And if you're new poor, like you're only just feeling the pinch now, you may be looking for advice from people like me who are old poor, people who've always been having to budget. So I might start doing some videos about being a low income low income homemaking. Sorry, can't speak this morning. So if it'd be interested in that, let me know, and I'll do some videos about it. I remember when I was growing up, we were never short of anything, but when you look back, my mum and dad must have been on a lot less money than some of the people we knew who were struggling, and we weren't struggling and we weren't wanting for anything. That's because my mum and dad were really savvy with money, and my husband, he grew up in a house where they had to budget as well, so it stood us in good stead, really. My mum's given me a new tablecloth, by the way. She bought it for her house because she moved into a new place a couple of months ago, and she had to get rid of a lot of the stuff to fit in. So this tablecloth was too big for the table she's got there, and she was going to cut it in half. And then she thought, oh, I can't cut it in half, it'll ruin it, and it's a nice pattern and everything, so she gave it me. So I've got a new tablecloth, yes. I'm very happy with it. So we are lucky to be in a council house because it's reduced rent, and we are lucky to have a roof over our heads, so please don't think I'm moaning about that. But when we moved into this house, the council completely stripped everywhere. This house had laminate flooring, it had doors with glass in, it had alcoves in it. The council ripped it all out. We had to re-floor every single room in the house except for the kitchen, and we had to paint every single room. The boys' room, my husband had to use about 14 packets of filler to fill in the holes in the wall where the plaster just fell off the wall. And my daughter's room, the council only half stripped it, and we didn't know why. And it wasn't long till we worked out why. It's because that room was horrendously full of damp. Stripping the wallpaper would have just took all the plaster off. So even though we moved into this house so my daughter could have her own bedroom, she couldn't go in it for 3 years because it was just so damp in there. We weren't prepared to put her in it. In the end, my husband bought all this anti-damp paint that were like £25 a tin to decorate it. But it doesn't matter how well you do it. We don't put washing in there. We open the window every day. Damp still comes through at winter. And every single morning, every single window, I'm wiping out the windows just wet through, and all this black gunk's coming through. And the council man said that we could have done with new windows 15 years ago. The council come, they said it's not damp, it's not damp, it's not damp, it's not damp. Then one come and said, oh, it's because you've no insulation in your roof. So they took some of our roof off to put some insulation in the bit where the ceiling was funny in our room. And then the damp's still coming through. And council's like, it's not damp, it's not damp, it's not damp, it's not damp. And then another man, an independent man from the council come, and he said your attic hatch shouldn't be dripping with buckets of water like that. And he went up in the attic and he was like, you hardly any insulation up there. So he put loads of insulation in, and we've still got damp. Nowhere near as bad, but we've still got damp. I don't like using the chemicals they've given me to spray it. I use them because I have to spray it all off every now and again in winter. It's not too bad the rest of the year, but in autumn and winter, that's it. As soon as the weather drops, it's damp. Because it stinks and it always makes me feel like I'm gassing myself. So my mum said, why don't you try this vinegar recipe? It's vinegar and bicarbonate of soda, sorry. Well, you needed white vinegar and I couldn't get any, so I had to use brown vinegar. And of course, brown vinegar and bicarb erupts like a volcano, doesn't it? So I'm trying to make this mixture with this spray bottle I bought off Amazon, and it kept erupting. And Bod and Pink thought it was hilarious. That's my 7-year-old, my 8-year-old. They thought it was hilarious because they look making volcanoes. But you had to put water with it as well. Eventually, I had a mixture. And I had to put the ladder at the top of the stairs, look. And I was frightened to death falling down the stairs. It was right on the edge. There was a bit I couldn't reach. And the only way I could have reached it was breaking my neck. So I was like, I'm just not going to do that bit. And within about 2 minutes, the spray bottle I bought of Amazon broke. And I was reduced to wiping it on a bit of sponge. You'll see in a minute, it did work. I was quite pleased with it. It did work. There's still them bits I can't reach, but I'm thinking of tying a sponge to a stick to get the bits I couldn't reach. Yeah, it did work, and it did stink of vinegar, but that's better than breathing in fumes from chemicals, I think. I should have been wearing gloves for this, but it was a case of, right, the toddler's busy, I'm doing it now, and I didn't think. But it just makes you a bit depressed because, you know, you spend precious money, they haven't got a lot of decorating, and you clean, and you try and make things nice for your kids, and then the damp just comes through. And I'm not complaining. It's one of them things you've got to get on with. But, you know, a lot of people are in the same boat. And we can't go into private rented because it's just too much money. I really don't know how people are affording the rent at the minute. And council housing, we've been trying for years to get out of this house and get into another, but there's a shortage of council houses. So you've just got to make the best of what you've got. And that is part of low income homekeeping. You know, it's not all standing round going, oh, I'm making this loaf of bread because it's cheaper. Low income homekeeping sometimes means wiping black mould off your walls. Although I'm not really complaining because the first house me and my husband ever had, the boiler never worked. It was freezing in there. And our oldest was a baby. I had to put him to bed in his coat sometimes because it was so cold. And the walls were just covered in damp. We ended up sleeping on the floor in the front room because that was the only room with dry walls. And then I got pregnant again, and that's how we got our council house. Not this one, the one before this one, which was never damp. So, you know, I do appreciate things because I know things can be so much worse. But yeah, look, it's just eating through the black mould. I was really impressed with it. I stopped filming though because when I did my room, because I spilled a load of it down my front. And some went in my eyeball. And I spent ages like crying hysterically thinking I'm going to go blind. Yeah, look, it's really done well. I didn't show you the damp in my bedroom. The damp in my bedroom's really bad. But you'll see in a minute it affected the paint. It's took a lot of the paint off in my room. So I'm going to have to redecorate that. But it did take the mould off. There's some bits of mould that are that ingrained in that it didn't come off, but on the whole, it looks a lot better. And as a homemade mould remover, I'm quite pleased with it. And the other thing we've been doing, because we're low income, if we're on holiday, we'll have a chip shop tea, but we hardly ever have one now. Oh, hang on, I'm on something else now. Sorry, I'll mention that in a minute. Vinted. I'm still doing my Vinted. I get given things, so I only sell them for like £1. So it takes a while for it to mount up. But I recently paid for my kids to go to the fair just by selling bits and bobs on Vinted. So at the moment, I'm selling bits and bobs on Vinted. And when I get enough money, I'm buying things off Vinted with the money I've made on Vinted to buy little stocking fillers for my kids. These 2 jackets, the pink one was a size 30 and they're both sold on the same day. So that was £2 in my pocket. Somebody gets a bargain cheaper than charity shop. I'm happy with that. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so chip shop. It used to be a cheap tea. It's not anymore. Maybe it is if there's only 2 of you in the house, but there's 7 of us. And I'm not prepared to pay like £50 for a chip shop tea. It's too much money. If we're on holiday, we'll have it. So what we started doing was, we was thinking, right, how can we do it from home cheaper? So we started making our own kebab at home. And it works out cheaper when there's 7 of you in the house. And also I think it's healthier because you know exactly what's in it. And the next day I'm not waking up all thirsty and like needing the toilet and things like I did when it's from the chip shop. So you get the price of mince, lamb mince has gone up since we started doing it. But again, because there's 7 of us, it's still cheaper. We get some doner kebab seasoning mix off Amazon. And you use about 2 ounces. So a packet will last us a while because it's about 2 ounces you get out. You mix it with some water and with your lamb mince. Wrap it in foil and cook it. When it comes out, it looks like a lump of kebab meat. And we cut it up and we just have it with lots of salad and homemade chips and pita breads or wraps. And it's really nice. That's why I'm sharing it with you. It's so nice. And it's cheaper. And they call it a fake away, don't they? But that's another one of the things you have to do when you're homemaking on a low budget. You have to think, right, how can I do this and do it cheaper? And sometimes cheaper works out better. Because sometimes when you get a kebab from the charity shop, when you get a kebab from the chip shop, it's expensive. Sometimes it's cold, so it's a bit grim. Like sometimes you get a leathery layer where it was on the outside of the thing. It's just, I'd never go back to it now. I prefer a homemade one. So if you like that video, please subscribe. I'm going to try and do more low income homemaking videos. I'll link my Patreon below. And I'll see you next time for a brand new video. Bye bye.